guys, it's Ray here from City Fan TV, and we've got a full house in tonight. A bit of football bingo. We've got Rob Prattley. I'm going to start from Rob, who is one of the editors of SW6 Daily, a big Chelsea is it fan site, Rob, or podcast?
Yeah, that's correct.
All sorts.
Yeah, fancast, sort of podcasting, online site, lots of Chelsea news and sort of information. Very active on all social medias. Come and give us a follow. We've really ramped up our women's content sort of this season, which is something I'm a big believer in. And yeah, it's going really well.
Yeah, cheers, mate. And we've also got you. Hopefully, we'll remember. Is it Mia Eriksson or is it Marie Eriksson?
Mia is fine.
Okay, and Mia is, you might have seen some of her photos. She's a photographer, she's a social media manager, and she's a writer for Wavell. How you doing, Mia?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
And obviously, City fans will recognise Jennie Sullivan, who is a regular contributor for previews and post-match reaction for City Fan TV on the women's game. How you doing, Jennie?
Thank you, Ray.
Good. Guys, we're here to talk and preview the Chelsea versus Man City game, which is taking place this weekend. But what we're going to do in this show is we're going to talk a little bit about the news that's happened in the last couple of days before we get right into the action on the preview. And I will want to just mention up front, all of us wish our very best to Pauline Bremer, who we found out today, ex-City player. She was with us last season, and she has done, I think, her ACL, anterior cruciate ligament, on her knee, and she's going to be out for what looks like a very long time. So I think everybody will agree that we want to pass on our best wishes, and Pauline, get well soon. We'll move on. We are going to talk about, I've got to say this, I mean, I'm reluctant to say it, and Jennie might want to cover her ears, but Chelsea are the current FA WSL champions, and they beat us to the title last season. We did have our chance in the last game, actually, that we played, but Chelsea were overall on points per game. So we will say congratulations to you guys, and hopefully it's just for one season that you're champions. Talking about this week's news, I think today we found out that the Aston Villa, some of their games have been called off because 3 or 4 players have got either got COVID-19 or are isolating, and I think their next 2 games are called off. And I'll start with Rob. Are you sure what the rules are about games getting called off? Because United, I think, have been playing with 1 player down because she's got COVID. Have you got any idea? And what do you think about games being called off?
I'll start off and be honest, I've got absolutely no idea at every single level across both the men's and women's game about the COVID management. It's been disjointed, it's been sort of poorly structured. There are clubs going to the wall, there are complete mismanagement, there are people who clearly don't know what they're doing. And, I worry for the game from both perspectives. Certainly, I would say that the playing priority has to be a player's health. And, if there's any concerns about any of that, I'm completely fine with games being called off. What I do think is interesting is there's no situation in place at the moment. If the season, it does need to be curtailed, or is there a serious number of sort of games suspended, how they're going to sort out the title and sort things out. Because again, as you sort of mentioned, obviously Chelsea won it last year on, in the end, the sort of rather convoluted head-to-head sort of ruling and points per game. Now, obviously, none of us want it to happen, but if we come into, say, the winter months, we know that it's, weather in England can be a factor as well, and a large number of games being called off. If we see like a huge swathe of the season gone, how on earth are we going to work this out? It's just a shambles, if I'm completely honest.
Okay, cheers for that, mate. We'll move on to another point from this week, which obviously affected the Chelsea fans more than the City fans, and it was the Continental Cup not being televised. Now, some games were. We were very lucky at City that we can watch our team play. I mean, you had to pay for it, but on the City Plus app, I think it is, it's £2 a month, which you can argue is not too bad for the content that City fans get, and you get a chance to watch this game. Some clubs weren't so lucky. Chelsea weren't so lucky. and theirs wasn't shown. So I'll ask Mia, what do you think about the Continental Cup not being televised? Are the FA not doing the women's game justice?
Yeah, I think first of all, it should be about what the FA is doing. But the thing here is, if we're being completely honest, it was the FA given the clubs opportunity to stream their own games, and some chose not to. I think it's the biggest problem for Chelsea fans this week is the communication around it, ahead of a game, and and the lack of communication. Why we chose not to stream it from the club's point of view. I think that's, I work with communication, and if I had been Chelsea's communications manager in some way, I wouldn't have recommended the club to do what they did.
Yeah,
honesty is always the best.
Yeah.
Like, come clean.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I've got to commend the Chelsea's, I can't remember the actual title, Chelsea's Women's Supporters Group, who were very vocal on social media, trying to liaise with the club. I think eventually the club did talk to them. But it's a shame because, I mean, we will talk about that game because you absolutely gave Arsenal a right stuffing. So, it's a real shame that you guys didn't see that. And then the FA, you did have a few journalists who, some of them had gone to one game in the afternoon and then they'd gone to the evening game. They were rushing across. They tweeted out some pictures or some short video clips. And I think someone said it was less than 2 minutes worth of video. And the FA told them not to. They said, you can't do that. So I think it was extremely, I think it was quite unsavoury, the whole, everything that happened around that. The next point I'm going to move on, I'll ask Jennie this. We saw today, and we're recording this on Friday evening, we saw a petition by a 10-year-old, I think, Everton fan, and she's unhappy that the men's game, they've swapped some games around for television, and I think the men's game now clashes with the FA Cup final on the 1st of November between City and Everton. I just want to get your comments and your feelings about clashes between the men's and women's game, Jennie.
Yeah, I mean, it's all down to the FA, isn't it, at the end of the day, and they really need to look at the fixture lists at the start of the season and think, where can they make it easier for fans of both teams, because it's not just Everton it happens to, it's happened to us. Like, I know you went to the Norwich game on a Saturday tea time, and then Sunday we had a late kick-off down in London, which it just wasn't possible for you to go to both. They moved some of the kick-offs from 2 o'clock in an afternoon to 12:30, which means that if we're travelling down south from Manchester, we're having to get up at daft o'clock just to catch a coach. When if it had stayed at 2 o'clock or 2:30, it would have been a more reasonable hour for, especially somebody like me who has to walk to where I have to catch the bus. So I just think the FA have it all wrong. I think they could have a really good sort of money spinner when we're allowed in the ground, but having these double headers like they've had in the past. I know we had one with Chelsea, so the women played in the afternoon, the men played it a couple of hours after, and it meant that the fans could go to both. And I think they need to do more of that, really, and look at the fixtures for the men and the women, but the women's fixtures don't come out at the same time as the men's.
Yeah, obviously, I think the issue in this case is we know what day the FA Cup final is, and the broadcasters, whoever it is, has decided to pick that Everton game and move it. And I think the problem is, it's always about money, and that's quite sad. And we can talk about the issue of the pay-per-view in the men's game at £15 a game if it's not on one of the broadcasters and you stream it. I think that came out today as well. And it is all about money, and the fans, sadly, come way down the list on, when they're scheduling. And it's the FA. The FA could, they could pick out certain games like the FA Cup final and say to the TV companies, you are not allowed, whoever's in the final, you're not allowed to pick one of those teams to play on that day at the same time, or at least, do something. It's slightly different because obviously we can't go to the games. If you were able to go to the FA Cup final, FA should say to the TV companies, you can't pick whoever's in the final, you can't pick them to play that day to show them on TV. They have to play on a Saturday or a Monday or whatever. Or if the final's on a Saturday, they have to play on a Sunday or a Monday, the men's team, and do it that way. And you're right, Jenny, and it surprises me because if it's all about money, surely the suits at the FA can see that to promote the women's game is going to mean more money to them. So I just don't understand why they do it that way.
I think women's football for the FA just has never been a priority, and at the moment, I still don't see it being, even though they say, oh yeah, we are trying to promote it more, I still don't think it's their priority, and it's wrong.
But I will also say, there are some clubs who have come very late to the women's football party. I'm not just saying it because it's them, but Manchester United have only just, set up the women's team a few years ago. And I'm on record as saying, I think the only reason they did that was because they saw women's football, the popularity increasing, and simply thought it's another way that we can make some money. Because if we just stay back whilst it's exploding, we might miss that boat. Whilst it's actually cheap to get in, I think with the salary cap and the weight of the transfer fees are not that massive. But if United come in a couple of years' time when the transfer fees are a lot higher and maybe the salary cap's gone, it's going to be much more difficult for them to get involved. And obviously they missed that initial explosion in the fan base because some fans, they might support Man United, but they've said when Man United didn't have a team, especially fans in Manchester, they support Man City's women's team. And they're not going to go back to Man United now because they've been supporting City for maybe 10 years or more.
Man United did have a women's team years ago when City sort of first started out, but they decided that there wasn't any money in the game, so they pulled the plug.
Yeah,
because a lot of the players came over to City. Players like there was Izzy Christiansen used to play for him, and Ellerton used to play for him.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain. They're getting some of their best players. Right, guys, we're going to move on to talk about Chelsea versus City, and we're going to talk about the start. We're going to talk about transfers in first, actually. So I'll go to the Chelsea guys because obviously we don't know too much about what you guys have been up to in the summer. So we'll start with Mia. Can you tell us, the main players that you've transferred in this season?
Yeah, it's 4 players in, right, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all know about Pernille Harder. I think she's, together with Melanie Leupolds, I think she's, and I don't know how you say her first name, but Niamya Charles.
Neem Charles.
What did you say?
Neem Charles.
Yeah, Neem Charles. Yeah, I think. And then we have we had a player from Arsenal's youth academy, Flores.
Currently evading my name. Currently evading my thoughts as well. I know who you mean.
Yeah, I think everybody in the Chelsea supporters group were asking for a defender, but we got some more midfielders and to strengthen the attack. But I feel like I talked about the defending part with another guy last week, and I'm not that worried about the defending because they're not going to pass through our midfield with those players. So, but I think that it's hard because I've seen Pernille Harder play when she was in Sweden to play in Linköping, and then she have been in Wolfsburg, and apparently it's obvious that she's gonna have another role in Chelsea, and she's been having those games she has played now. It's different roles in every game. You can see that. So yeah, it's hard to see where Emma Hayes is gonna finally decide to play her, but it will be interesting to see.
Yeah. Here's a question for Rob: Is she the best player in the world? Harder?
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you look at the goal scoring record, it's absolutely, utterly phenomenal. That's sort of, let's not get it twisted. This week she's won the equivalent, I think, of UEFA Champions League Women's Player of the Year, sort of in the last couple of weeks. And, her pedigree speaks for itself, both at club and sort of international stage. I loathe to always talk about a best player, because I think, in every single position there are outstanding players, but on their day, because and again, it's going to come down to it on Sunday, because there are so many good players on the pitch. I think, Harder will inevitably be one of the sort of subplots in the story, but you've got something like Mewis, etc., who you're going to look at them and think at the time, yes, wow, they are the best. But I don't think you can single out one single. I'm a big believer in that. Okay, you get anomalies like Lionel Messi, where if you put him in every single side, for instance, it would improve it. I think with Harder, as sort of Mia's already touched on, it's at the moment, she's obviously absolutely brilliant. Everything she does oozes class and quality. When she came on in that game against Bristol City, I think they probably, were begging for mercy by this point. And then to look up and see, the world record transfer coming on, you just know it's not your day. But what I will say is, and again, obviously, she apparently played very well overall against Arsenal the other day. Obviously, with the fans not getting to see that, it's hard to comment on it. But I do think at the moment it's struggling a little bit. There's so much attacking riches and so much talent. It's trying to fit all of it together. And we've definitely not seen the best of Pernilla Harder yet. And, maybe it will come on Sunday when she scores a hat-trick. But
well, less of that talk. Less of that talk, Rob. I'll move on to Jennie. I'm going to, make you miserable again, Jennie. I'm sorry about this. But we have to talk about the Community Shield. It's the first game of the season. And City, we looked at of sorts because our recent record against Chelsea has been really good in the league, I think. We played them in the last 12 games. I think we won 5, drawn 6, lost 1. And so that Community Shield game, it was, it felt, do you think it was, how much was it Chelsea was so good? Or how much do you think it was City were out of sorts?
I think, to be honest, both teams were out of sorts, but Chelsea turned it on in the second half. I think being the first game sort of back after the lockdown, you could tell it was the first game back. It was a very sluggish start. The first half was pretty dire for both teams, I think. But like I say, Chelsea just turned it on and Millie Bright scored an absolute screecher.
Yeah, it was a fabulous goal. We'll talk to you Chelsea guys about your start to the season. So we'll go to Rob first, and that's a picture of Jennie. We'll go to Rob, and I'm going to ask you, Rob, how's your start to the season? What's it been like?
I think the phrase you would use is consistently inconsistent. On the opening day of the season, there was obviously a great deal of fanfare about sort of the new signings, and I think it was a little bit of after the Lord Mayor's show, after such a dominant second half in the Community Shield. We took on a Manchester United side that was seen as a bit of an unknown quantity, took the lead sort of, eventually after spurning numerous chances, should have sort of, doubled the lead. They were very compact defensively, but even still, there were numerous chances to put the game to bed. They had several good counter-attacks, and on one of the good counter-attacks got in behind and scored. Then you had Bristol City, which, to be honest, being completely honest, it was a showing of what you can do if there's attacking football, you're off the handbrake, and you're up against a comparatively lesser opposition, if we're, being completely honest. Then last weekend against Birmingham, obviously you sort of had the disappointment of going out of the FA Cup against Everton, which was a similar game to sort of the United game. Started really well, missed a hatful of chances, let them back into it, and then Everton, to their credit, played really well on the counter-attack, were really compact. The keeper, absolutely brilliant for that match, and towards the end of it, it became the sort of thing you could play for another 15 hours and we weren't going to score. And then last week against Birmingham, it was a bit like that. We took the lead very early on, and you felt like that's it. We're going to just go ahead and steamroll. And we played really well for sort of about another 10, 15 minutes. And then after that, it sort of became very, very frustrating. There was almost a need to score a perfect goal, so many unnecessary passes, a lot of really poor finishing, again, really good goalkeeping and defending. But at no point were we ever really in trouble of losing the points, but it wasn't a satisfactory performance. So I'd say, par for the course. If you look at the points tally, I think you'd say 7 points after the opening 3 games, you'd be happy with that. But ultimately, if we do if it's a negative result at the weekend against City, then suddenly the gap starts to emerge. And in the WSL, it's so tight. As soon as gaps start emerging and you start getting, down on points, you don't make them up very quickly because there's so little margin for error, especially at the top of the league.
Yeah. I'll ask me if you want to talk about the game in midweek, because obviously that's your last game. And Chelsea absolutely thrashed Arsenal by 4-1 in the Conti Cup. I mean, how good were Chelsea in that game? I mean, did you actually watch the game the day after? And how good were Chelsea in that game?
Yeah, I actually watched it this morning. And of course, the goals, they came like they haven't done versus Everton and Birmingham. I think the first half compared to the second, which I watched this afternoon, wasn't that, the second half was better, but they scored the goals in the first. So also I would like to really, Carly Telford, she was really good in this game. Will be a bit exciting to see what Emma Hayes are choosing for goalkeeping against City, because she saved them a couple of times, but I think Arsenal, they're gonna kill me but they weren't good at all. But it wasn't that much of a play in the midfield, because the game went back and forth, and it was just happened a lot all the time. The live tweets said that not so much midfield play, which was kind of good, because then Chelsea couldn't do what Rob said, like they did versus Birmingham, to play the ball all the way into goal. They had to shoot. But it definitely was a great game, and I still feel robbed because I couldn't see it. So
but it's good. But it's good to see you thrashing Arsenal. So I mean, I think we've already done that to Arsenal this week, this year as well in the FA Cup.
We have a great track record, versus Arsenal, because we have won like 8 straight meetings with them. So
yeah. Well, we'll get to asking how good Arsenal will be this season in a minute. I'll move on to Jennie and briefly talk about our start to the season, Jennie. I mean, I think we had a slow start, and we seem to have picked it up, and I think a very good, hard-fought win against Everton in midweek.
Yeah, it was a good game. I mean, we were lucky that we could watch it on the City TV app. It was end to end, and in each team had chances. We sort of dominated we were dominating the game, and then after 20 minutes, Danielle Turner popped up and scored that goal, and I think it gave us a bit more of a kick up the jacksie, shall we say, and then they realised they had to play a bit better, although they weren't playing badly. It was just that there was nothing at the end product. There was no end product at all. And then obviously we equalised, and we went on to win. It was a good game.
It was a fabulous goal at the end by Jess Park. I mean, unfortunately, I don't think we didn't get replays during the game, so you just had to hope that you'd seen everything the way you'd seen it. And that Jess Park goal, you had to watch it back 3 or 4 times just to see how she'd managed to come in from the wing and score that goal.
I just don't. I didn't see her scoring at all. I thought it was too narrow an angle, and I didn't believe it when I actually saw it go in. I was waiting to see if there was any replay, but like you say, there wasn't, and it was just I still don't know how she did it. I just don't know, but it counted. So
she got it. I'll ask you briefly, just to see who you think are the title contenders this season, guys. You know, is it going to be Everton? Are Everton going to be in the mix? They're up there, and they've had a pretty good start to the season. Do Man United have a chance? They've got some new players. Are Arsenal past it? You know, are they going backwards now? I mean, you know, getting beat by City and you guys so quickly in the season. So who do you think is going to be up there come the end of the season, Rob?
I think it is hard, if we're honest, to see past Chelsea and City just with the size of squad, the resources, and also with the tactical sort of impetus of the management. Certainly third place, I would say, is definitely up for grabs this year. You've got Arsenal with the self-proclaimed best striker in the world with Miedemar, who is going to score plenty of goals. You've got United, who have, you know, done what the men's team do, just chuck money at problems and hope that it solves it. And you've got Everton that really did impress me in that FA Cup game. They rode their luck a little bit, but tactically brilliant, really astute. They've got some very good goal scorers there. And I think they'll be one of those teams that's frustrating to play against and really tough to beat, which is something I don't think there's necessarily been a lot in WSL in the last couple of years. So I think they'll pose a different test in that sort of way.
It's interesting that you said Man United will throw money at it, when I do believe the current world record fee was paid by you guys. Anyway. It's all right if you're spending money if you're blue. If you're red, it's not okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it works.
Yeah, Mia, what do you reckon? Who's going to be up there at the end of the season?
Yeah, I wrote a season preview for Waywell saying that I think it's gonna, at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be about Man City and Chelsea. I think Arsenal will be top 3, obviously. Yeah, Man United perhaps, but I think it's, in the end, I think it's about the, you know, what you say, the experience of winning when you win a game. It's different when you just play a single game versus each other. Then everybody can beat everybody on a good day. But when it comes down to it, and when it's going to be, you know, for serious on getting those points that will be needed, I think it's going to be about Man City and Chelsea.
Okay, and Jennie, I can ask you, why has nobody mentioned Liverpool? Why aren't they in the mix?
Because they're not in the WSL.
They got relegated last season. Just sort of throw that in. So Jennie, I'll ask you then: who's going to be in the mix? Do you see anything different?
No, I think top 2 is definitely Chelsea, Man City. Then the third place could be anything from 2 or 3 teams. You know, you've got Arsenal, even Tottenham could come in and, you know, they could make a challenge. They've got Alex Morgan, obviously, in their ranks. And Everton, I don't think you can look away from Everton, because whatever they're doing at the minute, they're doing it right. So it's hard to pick.
Okay, so I'll ask everybody. Is obviously I mentioned that last season the games between City and Chelsea decided the title. That I think Chelsea beat us down at their place, and we drew 3-3 at the Academy Stadium in Manchester, which turned out to be the last game of the season. It's just one of those. If we'd won, we'd be title winners, and obviously we didn't, so it went to Chelsea. Is this, I mean, the proverbial 6-pointer, is this such an important game at the start of the season? Is it going to, you know, are the winners just going to go off and steal the title and walk away with it? Is it going to make that much of a difference, this first big game of the season? Anyone, Mia or Rob?
I mean, I'll start off by saying I don't think you can feasibly say that any title is going to be won in October. However, for the psychological aspect of it and the aspect of winning, it's going to be a big bonus to know that because of the nature of that, we're still discussing if the season could be curtailed. It's going to be a big bonus to know that you've got the edge on one of your rivals. It's going to be a big bonus to know you've gone into one of those sort of, proverbial, let's say, top 3 clashes and either at least not lost or potentially sort of won. I'd also add that it, from the other side of things, is it just puts doubt, I think, in the opposition's mind if you win it or you sort of don't win it, or if, for example, you're in a winning position and you get paid back late on. I just think it gives you that other sort of competitive element, that mental edge for other games, because if you score a late winner, suddenly you feel buzzing. It always feels great to score a 90th minute winner, but I'd say the only feeling worse in football than losing is conceding a 90-plus minute equaliser, because you're looking at it, it changes your entire perspective on the match. Suddenly, a hard-fought 1-0 win has gone to being a dour 1-1 draw, or a 2-1 win where you've come back sort of from behind and taken the lead has suddenly become a 2-2 draw where you didn't close it out properly. I don't think anything's going to be won this weekend as per se physically, but mentally, certainly, I think it's going to be a huge way to deciding the title.
Yeah, because I think we all think it's going to be a tight title like last season, and so any small advantage is going to be a big difference. I'll move on to me with another question then. 2 questions for me about players. Who do you think will be Chelsea's most important or dangerous player for the game, and which City player do you fear the most?
For this game,
this game,
it's all hard to predict, even a lineup for Chelsea now. I think, the most dangerous player, I have to think. I think Guru Rayton will be, because I think she's on fire from the game the other day. I think she will be one of our best players on the pitch. Man City, Chloe Kelly, she's like, I'm really impressed by her. Yeah. I think it looks like she is in her true environment all of a sudden. And she deserves it. So, I watched the Everton Man City game on City Plus. I paid City Plus TV to see that game, and I'm really impressed by her. Of course, Lucy Bronze is going to be an important player for you as well. So just kind of funny right now when Rob talked about late equalizers and missed opportunities, because last time we were up against each other, you guys missed a penalty, and then there was a diving header from our skipper, and we could say that diving header and your missed penalty was that cost you guys the title. So
we don't talk about that anymore. We don't talk about that. No, look, guys, we're in blue. We're happy to make fun of Man United, happy to make fun of Liverpool and Arsenal, but not each other. It still hurts. Jenny, I'm going to ask you that same question. Who do you think, might be an easy answer, but who do you think is our most dangerous player right now? And from Chelsea, who are you scared of?
Chloe Kelly. I can't say any more than that, really. She's hit the ground running. She really has. There's her and Sam Lewis that they've both started really quickly, and if it carries on, then it's going to be an exciting season. Who do I fear? Probably Pernille Harder if she plays. I think, I think she could be the danger one.
Okay.
But there's so many players at Chelsea.
Yeah, they can only put 11 on the pitch at once. Don't worry, Jenny. I think the last question, I've got to press you guys for a score prediction. So what do you think it's going to be on Sunday? Go on, Rob.
I'm going to go, I think both teams will take the handbrake off, and I think we'll get a 3-3 draw again. I think there won't be much defending going on, because I think both teams will try and outpunch each other. And I think ultimately, as a result of that, we'll get a really good, exciting game with no clear winner, and it'll leave us answering with more questions than answers, to be honest.
What about you, Mia?
Yeah, I'll go for 2-1 Chelsea.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Jennie?
3-2 City.
Ooh, everybody's going for a high-scoring game. Okay, since you guys have gone high-scoring, I've got to do it as well. I'll say Chelsea 3, Manchester City 4. Go on, let's go for it. It's got to be. You're right. There's so much attacking talent on display. There's so much attacking talent. It probably ended up being a 0-0 draw and really boring after all we've bigged it up. But guys, as we draw to an end of this preview for Chelsea versus City in the FA WSL on Sunday, I've got to say a massive thank you for everybody for giving up their time and to impart their knowledge and wisdom with each other. So I'm going to say a big thank you to Rob for coming on tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers. And Mia, as ever, thank you very much.
Thank you too.
And Jennie.
Thank you.
Guys, I hope it's a good game and may the best team win.